I'm doing introductions, am I?
Well, I mean, nothing too formal, but say who you are and all that good stuff. I'm sure everyone knows anyway. But yeah, guys.
I'm Onepeg. I'm a 40-year-old idiot. I like to stream Tarkov and I make a lot of YouTube videos.
There you go.
That's about it.
And Ironfists.
Tarkov streamer, UK based. Usually live 6 days a week. Recently became part of the emissary team as well. So I'm one of the UK emissaries. But try and keep involved with community events, tournaments, and that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, just sticking around on Tarkov usually. Yeah.
Nice. And Klean, of course. If you'd like to let us know who you are, buddy.
Klean, been playing Tarkov for a really long time. Resident ruiner of the game and punching bag for the community.
Absolutely. And guys, of course, my name is Dan. From the UK. Been playing the game since 0.4, and really loving the direction of the game at the moment. You know, becoming more punishing and more sort of realism and stuff like that. Obviously, we had the weapon malfunctions and stuff, which will be, of course, a discussion for another day. But it's really good to see, the original vision that we kind of all fell in love with back in like 2016, sort of coming to fruition at last. Cool, guys. Thank you all very much indeed for joining us today. I really appreciate it. In such short notice as well. You'll be amazed how difficult it is to organize things. I literally messaged the guys. I was like, "Do you want to jump in on a podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, on Saturday." Yeah, sweet, easy as that. I was like, "Cool, let's do it." So really happy to be here and be able to talk with everyone today. So, without more ado, let's jump into the podcast, guys. Let's start talking about our first discussion point. So, of course, this podcast is about Scav Karma. Okay, it's something that is massively affecting the game at the moment and affecting the way people are playing, and it's changing the way people are thinking, guys. So, from your individual perspectives as content creators and like community curators, how have your guys been reporting the changes to the game with Scav Karma? Have they been positive, negative? What do you guys think?
I'll start, but yeah. It's been exciting because it's been such a long time coming. People have been excited to see how the Karma system's going to be implemented. I think for the most part, a lot of people, I won't say been disappointed, but they get extra emotional when then they get betrayed by people. You know, they're trying to team up as AI scav as player scavs together, and there's that one rogue. Or there's still a lot of people in the community, I feel, who don't understand Scav Karma. You know, how Karma's gained, how Karma's lost. You know, there's still that kind of shoot on sight kind of mentality. And people are still getting to grips to numbers, and we're only 14, 15 days into the patch. So, you know, BSG is still tweaking the numbers when it comes to the gains and losses. But overall, I think people are excited. There was a lot of draw when it came to Fence reputation, the loyalty level, and you know, the unclaimed insurance. That was the most. I think that was the biggest draw. But for me personally, I think the other benefits of Scav Karma when it comes to the reduced scav timer, reduced car extract prices and things like that, that excites me more than having to, pay for an overpriced M4 off Fence level 2. But generally, I think, people have been very reactive to it, but they still, there's still a lot of misinformation, and people are still trying to get to grips with the numbers in terms of how to gain and how to lose Karma.
Yeah, for sure. The game definitely does give us some kind of small but noticeable notification when we do good Karma actions and bad Karma actions. I'm seeing a lot of people, like you say, a lot of people are missing stuff, and they're like, I don't understand why my Karma's going up or why my Karma's going down. You might argue that the notification in the bottom corner, which is, obviously with Tarkov, we don't really have HUD elements and stuff like that. So it's a little bit kind of outside of the immersion area, I guess, with having a notification pop up when you do stuff. But perhaps a lot of players are missing that popping off, because we all know what it's like. You get immersed and you're like, trying to kill a dude, and they're trying to kill you, and it is easy to miss.
It's kind of 50-50 when I talk to people about that, because some people say, I'd really like it if on the post raid of your scav, it said karma gained, karma lost. But some people like that kind of, it's almost like mystery, isn't it? BSG do kind of have this kind of like smoke and mirrors kind of, they want us to not know everything in a way. So it's kind of 50-50 split in terms of some people want a definite answer, like how much karma did I lose? How much did I gain? Some people are like, well, let's play it by ear and see, like go with the flow with it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Perhaps implementing something into the post raid screen, like you say, might be an interesting take on it, just so players know, like, oh, I was, I mean, I think we all know when we're an asshole in Tarkov. We know when we've done something that we probably shouldn't have done, right? But yeah, maybe for some players it would be helpful to have more of a like an interface based confirmation. Yeah, no, I like that. Might be worth looking into. And we see Onepeg now. Okay, you can see Onepeg's beautiful face. Finally.
Video's a little choppy, but that's okay. It's better than nothing, I guess.
Nice. Been looking forward to seeing that all day. Guys, yeah, if you want to continue with your communities, Klean, what do you reckon?
I mean, overall, my experience has been like really positive. Before the Karma update actually hit, me and my channel and many other streamers would do like Scav Gang, Scav Army, where you just invite your viewers in and you can just kind of run around as Scavs again and do stupid Scav shit. But for the most part, it's been really positive for me. I feel like players are still kind of learning the feature. I think it's going to take about another 2 weeks for people to really kind of understand how Scav Karma works and how it functions, what the negatives and positives are. And really, it's kind of created like a large paradigm shift in the community because this is the first time ever that Tarkov has had a feature where it doesn't outright reward you for killing on site. Instead, it actually punishes you now. And that's actually kind of cool, because now players are inherently rewarded for doing something that they've never been used to doing before. And that's why a lot of people are getting frustrated with the feature, because I still get people who come in and tell me about all the mean scavs that they meet and stuff like that. But people have been conditioned for the past 5 years that this game has been out to kill everything you see, whether it's on the scav or the PMC. And they've been used to that. And that's how they've seen people play the game. That's what they assume that the game is in nature. And as a lot of these new changes kind of come forth, people are going to have to learn how to adjust and not complain. Essentially just kind of get used to whatever new features come in and provide critical feedback where it's necessary and try and be reasonable about it. But overall, like I'm seeing a huge paradigm shift in the community. I'm meeting more friendly player scavs, not only as a scav but also as a PMC. If I'm on an interchange, reserve, or woods, there's been multiple times I've been able to go up to a scav, tell them to hold their fire, pull their knife out, and then they wiggle at me, and then I wiggle back, and we go to the extract together. Because it's actually really easy as the PMC to initiate that interaction. Even though he does kind of get gear and karma for killing you, he still gets the same thing for taking the extract. And once players kind of understand the value behind that, I think they'll start doing it more. Because like my second extract, I got a black key card from Fence. And so you can really get some hot shit items from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I got a car battery yesterday, I think it was, which I was extremely happy with. But black keycard is obviously a massive gift, I suppose, from Fence. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, the community will take time to adjust. You're absolutely right regarding how long we've been playing this game, kill on sight for years and years. 3-4 years, some of us. So to have that change in behavior, and human behavior is famous for being hard to adapt and change and adjust and stuff like that. So good couple of weeks, I reckon we'll see definitely more people trying to like work together. And once the news gets out, like, hey, I've got positive Scav Karma or Fence rep, these are the changes that I'm seeing. People are going to be like, oh wow, I'd like that as well. Oh, I got a black key card, I got a car battery, I got a red rebel, I got a red rebel from Fence for doing the shared extract. People are going to be like, yeah, that sounds pretty good, And I've been saying this for years as well, to my guys and everyone on social media and stuff like that. I've been trying to explain, like, if we start seeing good rewards, like if the game makes it worthwhile to do something, it doesn't matter what it is. If the game makes it worthwhile, players will do it. Like, for example, you guys remember the pre-wipe event? I know it's obviously an extreme and absurd amount of money, but $100,000 for doing the shared extract, like, you've never seen a friendlier Tarkov ever. And, obviously it's an extreme example, but it just goes to show that everyone kind of has a price. Everyone has an idea of what is worth risking their scav run or their PMC run for. Absolutely. And Onepeg, my friend, what do you say? What say you?
Karma system's good. I like it. I like the like Klean was saying, I like the paradigm shift. It's definitely changed how the game works. And if you notice now, there's no such thing as like a map that doesn't get picked clean. It's like everyone knows how to clean a chicken wing. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like there's no meat left at all. Everything gets looted. So like if you're the guy that spawns in with like 10 minutes left on a map, you're like, damn it, there's no loot left. And like you're kind of like looking around, yep, this one's empty, you know. What I also found interesting is that PMCs start dressing like scavs now, trying to get in with the scav gang, doing like wiggles and stuff.
Gray shirt and jeans for USEC.
Yeah. So they'll like try and get in on the gang and do some wiggles and stuff, and then they do like the grand betrayal and start dropping like entire groups of people.
Holy shit, that's genius. Wear your jeans and just go in and pretend to be a scav.
There's a baby gamer entering my office right now. She's on her way.
Oh,
she saw me, so she might be joining us for a minute.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But yeah, man, I like the karma system quite a bit. Minus the bugs, you know, those aren't so good. But the rest of it I like.
What kind of oh yeah, no, I just clicked on. I was gonna say what kind of bugs are you experiencing, but yeah. I mean,
V-bug.
I mean, I think it's fair to say that you're probably the only player in the world who has had negative 12 karma.
I don't think anybody's gotten it that low. I think at this point there might have been enough time for someone to get to negative max rep to where they would be kill on sight now. But at the time that I had gotten as far down, like even to the point where I would have been kill on sight, I ended up looking at like how much time was available, and I don't think there would have been enough time with the cooldowns increasing at the time that I had it to where like people could have even gotten there yet.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
It was like extra crazy.
One question for you there, Onepeg. Do you know when you had negative karma, did you have your scav case and your hider active by any chance?
I did not. I still don't.
Because I've had reports, and obviously, you know, it's just early days and there's going to be bugs and reports, but the negative karma, your scav time was supposed to be doubled or it increased to the, like, the moonshine's usually 4 hours. It was meant to be increased.
Yeah, it'll reduce and increase based on karma. So if you have -7, it's like your moonshine's like 48 hours or something like that.
Yeah, I had heard like, I think Klean, the video that you did, you said like 500%, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And if you're positive, it's 50%. So basically cuts the cooldown in half.
So like, so at 500%, that would be moonshine would be like 22 hours and change or something, because moonshine's like 4 hours and 10 minutes, something like that. So it would be.
I thought it was longer. I thought it was like 8 or 9.
Moonshine's 4 by standard.
I think it's 4 hours standard. Yeah.
I don't know why I remember it being longer.
Can't have my headphone.
Because there were some visual bugs with that, because I've had reports from people in the community who had negative karma. Although the timer said 10 hours plus, the scavs are actually returning the loot at the normal 4-hour mark. So if you do come across those kind of bugs, you know, feel free to put in a report and pass on ticket numbers and stuff. We're still gathering info on it.
Yeah, so I guess there's still people that are saying that they're getting negative rep for killing raiders sometimes. So yeah.
See, raiders are still bugged
too. Are they still
bugged? Well, I had a conversation with Nikita like a month ago about this, and he was actually surprised that this was the case. But when raiders enter any location, they're supposed to kill everything besides themselves. So that includes regular scavs, scav bosses, whatever. And I'm wondering when they're actually going to program them to do that, because I think it'd be kind of cool if raiders come into a location, say if you hit the switch on Hermetic, they start fighting Gluhar's guards and shit. They kill a few of them. The raiders are still alive. You kill one of them who killed the guard or a boss, and you get positive karma for that. Same thing with like regular AI scavs. So then the raiders themselves could, you know, potentially be a target for karma. But
they actually like protect each other. Like if you go into Reserve Underground, for instance, as a player scav and shoot a raider and kill it, the regular like pleb AI scavs will turn on you.
Yeah, and that's not supposed to happen because
Right.
in the lore of Tarkov's universe, raiders are Terror Group's henchmen. They're like the James Bond bad guys. Like they're there for themselves. They don't have any friends. The
Yeah.
only friends that they have are well themselves. And I just think it'd be really cool to eventually see raiders not only on reserve, but you know how they did with the event, like raiders on all locations. They come in and just like fucking war zone, scavs killing raiders, raiders killing scavs, vice versa. You know what I mean? Total chaos.
Yeah, man, it was like during the pre-wipe event, if you went into offline mode and turned on Scav War, you could watch all the Scav bosses laying into each other and, with all the guards and everything. It was awesome. It was
Yeah.
so cool. Like you see Sturman like just laying into people from across the map. It was,
Yeah,
it was
wasn't
great.
it? I want to say it was 41, and he was
Yeah.
basically like taking bets on who would which scav boss would win out of like all 5 of them. They'd just basically hit Scav War, and it would just
Killer
be
was
carnage, dude.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, I love that idea of with raiders coming in, and obviously they're their own entity, they're their own faction, if you like, and
Right.
they enter the location and they're like, right, I'm fucking, this is our place now, as they would, you know, we're gonna move in, and anything that we find, we're gonna engage, and I think that would make for, you know, an incredibly interesting and dynamic kind of raid. You know, I think Nikita really wants to see things changing as the raid progresses. Like, oh, this happened.
Right.
For example, with Hermetic, you know, the wee woos triggered, and okay, now something new's happening. Like the raiders are here, or for example, the train arrives and perhaps raiders come off the train. You know, stuff like that. It would be these sort of more dynamic raids and stuff. It's really exciting. It's really exciting to think about. And yeah, that would be great to see. And watching AI fight each other's hilarious anyway.
Oh
So
yeah, I agree.
let's go and hammer each other. So guys, I did a survey not too long ago. This is kind of in the same sort of vein, so we won't spend too much time on this. But I did a survey not too long ago, and out of the Tarkov players who answered the survey, 67%, so around 2/3 of the players that answered the survey had mostly positive scav experiences compared to previous wipes. So not just as like a creator, guys, but just as like individuals, just as players, how have you been experiencing scav runs? Like, I know everyone's really positive about it, but like, is there any particular story that you'd like to share about you joining in with some guys, not just doing like scav gangs, scav army and stuff like that from the lobby, but just like going in solo and, you know, teaming up with guys? Is there any like particular story you'd like to share?
I actually got my Violet this wipe. I completely forgot. I got my Violet card from Fence this wipe, like day 3, day 2 of the wipe, because I actually befriended a hatchling at first. I had to go AFK in a bush. I lost my hatchling, and then when I stood up, there was just a random player scav wiggling at me. So we ran to the highway on interchange and got our friendly scav extract. And it was kind of the first and only random player scav that has actually successfully teamed up with us. I think generally though, for me, I just wish it was more punishing with the scav boss thing, because I've killed Killer. I'm not afraid to admit I've killed Killer like 3 times as a player scav, and I'm still in positive karma. Like, none of the scavs reacted, whether it's, you know, obviously it's not intended. I legged Killer with a shotgun, and none of the scavs around me reacted. They just like saluted and let me walk out there heavy as hell. So it's kind of like 50-50 for me. I wish it was more punishing in regards to, you know, betraying stuff like scav boss. I feel that's too easy for a player scav. It's not punishing enough.
Did that happen at the beginning of the wipe?
Yeah,
like first couple
it
days.
was very early on. I'm hoping that they've done some tweaks since then. But it was very, very early on.
Since now, every time I've encountered a scav boss on any map, they've always shot at me, and if I kill them, I lose 0.2 every time.
I feel that isn't enough, in my opinion, because
I feel like it should be 1. You know, it's like you just killed a boss.
If you betray a boss, it should be like almost to the depths of not being able to recover it, because the risk reward there is so high.
Absolutely, I agree.
Onepeg? What's
And
your favorite part so far? What have you done that's been awesome?
I haven't gotten anything like really cool. Like you guys saying that you're getting like all this good stuff from duo extracts. I get like a bank robber rig and pocket lint. Like, he doesn't give me shit. But I had one. There was one where there was a scav on top of one of the night buildings in reserve, wiggling at me from the roof, like the lip of the roof. And I heard like a bunch of gunshots. He jumps off the roof and breaks both of his legs right next to me and kept pointing like into the building, like with his gun. And I walk in and there was another player scav that was killing people in the courtyard with like a Mosin or something. I ended up shooting him in the back because he was looking for the guy that was that had broken legs outside the building, firing his shotgun straight up in the air, trying to make a distraction. He was trying to tell me that there was an asshole inside of the building, and I wasn't messed up, and he was, and he wanted me to go and kill him. So I dropped the guy, and he hobbles his ass up and like starts collecting gear and leaves. And I was like, hell yeah, dude. I'm like, good distraction. Way to be.
Now, I'm really glad that you mentioned that, actually, because we do have a very, very limited way of communicating, don't we? We have a really limited way as player scavs to communicate. We've got hand signals, and we've got shag barriga mapatom, all that. We don't really have a way to say, now, before I go on to that, when you double tap Y, bring up the interaction menu, the emotes menu. We do have contextual. I don't know if you've seen them. It's like a little. There's like a little list of contextual voice lines or actions, but I've not been able to get any of them to work at all, either from the menu or from like looking at loot or looking at a door. Like I don't know if they are fully implemented yet or what, but it does seem that we are going to have a more kind of diverse way to communicate as player scavs. Now, what would you guys think to Scav VoIP? Just for now, Scav VoIP. I
mean, VoIP for me is a very touchy subject, and it also is for Battle State. And Nikita's answered the question so many times about VoIP in general. I think the means for scavs to communicate is definitely important. And same thing with the PMCs too, especially if we're ever going to have features like PMC Karma and like raid factors come in, which is a feature that Nikita's spoken about a long time ago. I don't know if you guys know about it. But if they do add VoIP, it's not going to be like open VoIP like you'd expect with Rust or DayZ or any of these other games. You'll have to have like a communication system. So in other words, you'll have to have a helmet, like an Altin or a Zish. LZH helmet, like even my Altin right there that's from Russia, it has a radio like headset built inside of it that you attach a radio to. And so in the compass slot, we're going to be able to put a radio in there. And then if you and another PMC meet each other and you both have either a helmet or headsets like Comtac 2s or something like that support communication, you'll be able to be like, hey man, let's work together. And then you share codes or whatever new interface that they'd program in, and that's how you'll have VoIP. And it'll be something along the lines of like Task Force Radio. So when you're close to each other, it'll be like direct VoIP. And once you separate, you create distance, it'll become like a radio filter. You'll hear it through the headset instead, but only you guys will be able to hear each other. So that way, like we'll never be spammed with like random music playing in a raid or any other stuff like that. And that's what BSG doesn't want, is because they don't want the immersion and authenticity of their in-raid Tarkov experience to be diminished from stuff like that, which I think is pretty fucking valid. But for whatever reason, people always ask about VoIP all the time, and like Nikita always kind of gives like a slightly different answer. That's just because I feel like the language barrier and obviously pressure from a lot of people in the community wanting a specific feature and always asking about it can, I feel like, make him change his answer a lot. But I remember a podcast he did with me, he spoke in detail about how the VoIP system would work and essentially what I just described to you. And so if they do VoIP, it's going to be something along those lines. And one more thing, Nikita did mention to me for 12.12, they are going to be looking at features for general player communication and working with one another. And one of the features will be a low ready. So, hey, let's be friends versus, hey, let's be friends. There's a huge difference right there. When a gun is pointed directly at your face. And so just that feature alone of the low ready is going to help so much with identifying who's an enemy and who's not. Because obviously if somebody's pointing a gun at you, they probably want to hurt you. If they just have their gun pointed at the ground, well, they're probably not going to shoot you. So, and I think they're also going to do something along the lines of like more interactive voice commands as well. Yeah, that's all I know.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I think all of us, especially creators as well, like the last thing that we want is to be doing a raid and end up hearing like Darude Sandstorm come down from 3-story dorms, and you're just like, come on, bro. Like,
I would be playing Rude Sandstorm. That would be me.
It's just some dude with a slip and a vector, like
just playing
That would
hard
be me.
bass at max volume, and that's I think that's really good. I'm glad that you brought up a lot of those points regarding immersion. Because for me, and I know a few guys as well, and a lot of you in the chat, like immersion in Tarkov is incredibly important. Like it's a game that like it pulls you in. It pulls you in. I use a heart rate monitor on stream, and that thing is working fucking hard, man. Like it's crazy, and I think it's really, really important that the player does stay immersed within the game and can not be affected negatively with VoIP. And you're absolutely right. Like finding the PMC in raid and going, weapon down, low ready, and saying, hey, channel 4, and he's like, yeah, roger that. And you go, yeah, channel 4, cool. And then you chat and you're like, hey, what's up, man? Yeah, let's go. I need to go kill Rashala, and he's like, yeah, I need to go and plant the beacons at the BP depot or whatever. And it's, I mean, that would be awesome. And I'm really excited for the future of Tarkov, which is obviously one of the topics that we've got today. I am really excited to see people working together. And we had a situation. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say they're going to add cell phones and PDAs too, so it's going to be very similar to Stalker. So like if you guys have ever played Stalker, there's like a global communication system where everybody has a PDA and they can like text each other and send each other messages and shit. And it's like this kind of global chat for like the universe of Stalker. And Tarkov is going to have something really similar where you're going to have these PDAs and cell phones, and you're going to be able to, basically put that on your compass slot, which is eventually going to, be used for like radios and cell phones and PDAs and like other types of weird tactical gear that they have and equipment. And another cool thing is you're going to be able to hack into people's radios and listen to what they say in raids. So you can have a device that lets you hack into certain signals in raid, and then you can also have a secured jammer for your channel so that people can't hack into your signal. And so, a lot of the future of like how we communicate in raid is also going to become pretty cool and advanced, as time goes forward. And I think once they do add VoIP in that way that they did, I mean, they could definitely change their plans, but I think they're definitely going to do it that way. I think once people know, like, hey, if I go get close to this person, I can talk to him, and that inherently will make people shoot each other less. And again, that's something I've noticed on scavs a lot, is that I'm not just getting shot from a dude who sees me 100 meters away, because he looks, he's like, oh, it's a scav, okay, whatever, and he goes minds his own fucking business. And so a lot of that's gonna be cool. So eventually, like, you'll be able to text that asshole in dome sniping you and be like, "Hey, fucker, like, stop shooting me. Would you shoot these guys instead?" Stupid stuff like that. I think will be kind of fun.
I'm gonna hack into DanExert's radio frequency and play the Rude Sandstorm.
Can't wait. Get fucking DMCA'd.
Doing it. Oh, dude, could you imagine if you got DMCA'd because some asshole hacked into your radio frequency and started playing DMCA music? Oh,
that's actually that's a real concern though. That's pretty legit.
Hell.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. Actually,
that's awful.
No, I haven't think about that either. That's actually kind of scary.
Perhaps hacking into other people's radio systems would be like a listen only sort of thing. So
that's what it's supposed to be. You're not gonna be like, "Hey, fuckers, I hear you." You know what I mean? But you can hear what they're talking about. Because one thing I loved about DayZ was eavesdropping on people, like just like kind of creeping up in the bushes and just hearing people talk about anything, and they just don't even know you're there. It's just, I don't know, it's a cool feeling.
Listening. Yeah, for sure. And on the topic of like working together and stuff, we had today, I had the thought, it was on reserve, and there was like 6 of us, and I was like, imagine us now going to take on PMCs. Like, imagine us as a scav gang, 5-6 of us, locking down a location, maybe the train yard or dome or king, whatever, a place of interest, and we could just go and lock it down as scavs. And that got me thinking about the future of how playing as a PMC is going to be. And if the scavs are working together, perhaps that'll encourage PMCs to work together. Like,
well, that's the spirit of the game.
Absolutely.
The very first trailer that came out all the way back in like 2016, 2013 or something like that, actually. Like that's the spirit of Tarkov, is like you have 2 groups of people fighting each other from opposing factions, and then those 2 people choose to team up in order to fight a larger threat. And
enemy,
that's very like that's what BSG wants, is that's what they're eventually trying to embody. And what's funny is like the EFU you've been playing for like 4 or 5 years has not been that at all. It's been completely a very gutted experience because of the amount of like key end game features that we don't have yet. And once those finally come in, that's when we'll most likely start seeing cooler cooperation.
Absolutely. Like the kill on sight meta, if you like, that we've seen for the last 4 years, you know, with Scav Karma has kind of started to shift. And yeah, it's incredibly exciting. Like you say, with the very first trailer, and I bring this up all the time. My guys are absolutely sick of hearing me talk about it. I'm like, guys, in the first trailer, you know, Yusek, Bear, they start off as enemies. They, you know, it's the contract wars. They're fighting each other, and then they're like, shit, we're actually, if we you know, fight each other now, that's just you and me. We're both dead. There's no point. There's no point in us both dying. So they team up. He throws the M4 across. Music plays. Pans out. Boom. You know, it's exciting stuff. And to see a Tarkov. Go on.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is to do with conditioning as well, because there was a lot of like negative reaction when it came to the pre-wipe event and the $100,000 being given for the friendly scav extract. But that kind of softened people's idea to teaming up with the scavs. Prior to that, I don't think
Positive reinforcement.
A big chunk of the community had never done a friendly scav extract and had never had that experience. So that kind of like enforced that, and like I said, it was conditioning. BSG was brainwashing into us getting used to the idea.
They need to make quests for extracts in every map. They should have a quest for like Peacekeeper or somebody who's like, hey, go take Scavland extract 5 times, interchange woods and reserve. And that's a quest for everybody.
100%.
Because if they do that as a side mission, maybe make the reward like a cool container or, you know, something that players want. That would again further kind of positively reinforce and condition people to do those things. And also it helps introduce them to the feature, because I guarantee you there's plenty of people who don't even fucking know about it. And also the negative reinforcement from Scav Karma too is like punishing you for doing certain types of things in raid, and then you eventually notice and feel those actions not only on your Scav character but your PMC too. You know, so it's not just affecting your Scav at the end of the day, which is kind of cool.
So don't kill raiders.
Yeah, don't do that, guys. Nice, awesome. Yeah, Onepeg, have you got anything to add to that before we move on to the next point?
The 2-hour cooldown sucks. negative scav rep really sucks. It's not fun. I would not recommend it. Being kill on sight makes it damn near impossible to get back out of the hole too. It's bad.
With high rep, isn't your like scav cooldown like 7 minutes or 6 minutes? And that's also
10 minutes without the intelligence center.
And with intel, it would be like 7.
It's 35%, so I don't know if it's additive or multiplicative. I have no idea. So it's either
I would say 6 to 7 minutes.
Or 7 minutes. It's one of the two.
See, that's all I want. I want to get to that point where I can just main my scav and only play my scav. I could like start around on the flea market for a little bit and go back and do a scav again.
If you have to do any Tetris work in your stash whatsoever, like a 10-minute cooldown even is
boom,
easy.
flies by.
Yeah.
It's almost ready like right away.
When you're done, that's it. You just go back into the
dude, and the crazy shit was like, I had gotten, I think I took 6 before Raider Gate happened. I had 6 screen caps that I took. 4 of them I had 40,000 rubles and a labs key card in my pocket. Like
nice.
It was constant, like
good shit.
Like if you didn't have like tier 4 armor on, there was like some equivalent of like decency like in your inventory. Like that's you really always had good stuff like on average. It was awesome.
You know,
like,
kind of speaking of that too.
Every raid I had like tier 4 armor.
Imagine if lab key cards like weren't on bosses, but they only spawn on high karma scavs.
Right?
Or like you could do that with any type of item, like. And even for low karma, you could restrict items to spawning only on the lowest possible karma scavs. You know what I mean? So there could be something if you're like a piece of shit, there's still kind of something to be gained, but like, you have a heavy negative. That's what I was thinking.
Like if you got to like max negative, like maybe it sucked like in the in between, but if you got like all the way to the dark side, there was just, like some kind of like wacko perk that made it worth it ish. You know?
Yeah.
So
how about you could
you had like factions, like people chose which path they were gonna take.
You could be a cultist like once every 5 hours or something, and you can only play night raid.
Ridiculous,
dude. If you had no footsteps and got to use the poison knife, sign me up. I want it, dude.
Yeah,
I'm really
glad only gives you the knife, no gun.
Just go around stabbing.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah,
you get to poison somebody.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because with Karma, a lot of people are talking about punishing. It's I'm being punished for doing this. I'm being punished for doing that. those of you that played Fable, okay, back in the day on original Xbox,
That was the best RPG.
Fable was awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was the first game where you could be a good or a bad guy. Really.
Exactly,
It was the first game where you could do that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted to bring up. Like with Fable, you know, being good, good morally, you know, you have perks to being good, but you also had disadvantages to being good as well. Like, yeah, you're a good guy, but perhaps people don't take you seriously, or you know, you can't intimidate anyone because they're just like, oh, you're a good guy and you never do anything, and vice versa. If you was a real piece of shit, you know, no one would like you, but perhaps they would do what you said out of fear because they're like, shit, this guy's, you know, means business, right? And you know, in the context of Tarkov, I would love to see there being pros and cons to both sides. Like you say, if you're an absolute asshole scav, perhaps everyone hates you. You load in and you'll kill on sight pretty much straight away. However, you might load in with things that are unique to asshole scavs. You might load in with things that are, you know, that you never see on
they need to do that with
scavs.
clothing too. So like good scavs look like gluhars and you know, Shirtman's guards, and then bad scavs have whatever bad scav clothing it would be. Maybe cultist gear, you know,
Dude,
if you get low enough.
Negative karma and you got to unlock the cultist robe.
Yeah,
as like a
why not?
wearable.
And then other scavs would shoot you on sight. Player scavs would know to kill you, and PMCs would definitely shoot you. Like,
well, so right now it's just punishment because once you get to max negative, as soon as you're kill on sight, if you retaliate against the AI scavs that are shooting at you because you're kill on sight and you kill one, you just go more negative.
yep.
Like
There's no way of getting out. Yeah.
Like if you just barely get to like you hit 7, right? You can just go do a car extract and get, you know, 699 or whatever. Now you're not kill on sight anymore. So you can kind of like ride that line. But when you're negative 12, there's no coming back.
No.
Although people have been saying that the car and maybe the duo extract are like very slowly regenerating like how much rep reward you get by like 0.01 to like 0.05 a day. I think it's like 0.01 a day, but it's looking like it's like 0.05, 0.07 a week, something like that. So you don't necessarily have to go and like shoot PMCs or like bad scavs for like the rep. You can get it kind of passively because here's the problem with the system. If everybody in Scav Karma land decides that they're going to be a nice guy, then there's no more bad scavs to kill for rep, right? Which whittles away on how actively you can farm positive karma because the car extract and the duo extracts eventually like exhaust their pool, like the well goes dry. So that means the only thing that you have access to get positive rep from is by killing PMCs, and then when I did the math, it was 286 like shots on target without making a mistake, in addition to all of the positive rep that you could get passively from everything else.
And you also get in like halfway in a raid too, so there's usually never a PMC. Usually like, you know, 18 to 20 minutes left. Yeah.
So I was actually okay with how the point system worked. I just wanted them to like flip it. So like or even like make it even more drastic where if you shoot a PMC or a bad scav, you get like 0.05. And then the penalty is 0.1 or something. Make it like a 2x worse than it is positive. But at least then, if you decide that you're going to be a bad guy, it hurts. But if you're going to be a good guy, you could actually like get to the end result that you're trying to get to without it taking you, 4 or 5 months. Because even the hardcore guys, that's going to be a while. Like 286 PMC kills. If that's all
it's
you
a
have
long
left,
time.
it's a long time.
I mean, honestly, I'm lucky to get maybe 5 kills in a day, like an 8-hour stream on my scav, because it's not that I'm like I can't kill them, but it's just like I don't see them. Usually, like you're just straight up scavenging a lot of raids, and it's it's not a bad thing, but being the main way to get karma, that makes it much more of a grind.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw a PMC as a scav.
Right now. It takes a little too long. If the game was in full release, then I can understand the point. But I mean, if they're trying to take something before a wipe happens, I mean, it could take 4 or 5 months for a lot of guys to get there.
Totally. I mean, I've always kind of wished scav mode was more available to players who have less money and are a lower level, just because it's a really fun way to learn the game without getting shit on and punished to losing everything. Like if you're just coming into the scav as a Makarov and no armor, like yeah, you can still head eyes that dude with a fucking slick and a U-lock with your Makarov, right? And you should be rewarded for said good aim, but obviously that's not going to happen all the time. Not everybody's that good. But yeah, I don't know. It is kind of strange.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be a long process. And yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting about not being able to climb back out of the hole. It's like, you know, if you've done enough bad things, that's it. Like, you are a bad guy. That's
Yeah, once I realized like how deep I was in, it was like, okay, well, in BSG, I didn't think was gonna make me whole on that. Like they don't commonly like fix that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So you know, bug happened. You know, sorry. But being that far down, there wasn't really any climbing back out of it. And then I realized I'm missing like 30-40% of the game because I can play a scav once every 2 hours, and then I basically just have to kill everything and you know be the
yeah, no,
be the
absolutely.
Punisher like on my scav, and that just makes it worse. So I ended up just grabbing an alt account and playing that one instead. So because I can't reset the account until the 21st, and they weren't giving me an account reset either. So
No.
it just kind of like made me realize like if you get too far in the hole, like there's no redemption arc at all there. Like not that doesn't mechanically really exist right now. So just is what it is. But
Yeah,
hopefully
Unless
figure
they
out
had a
something.
daily quest for the PMC for fence that
Yeah.
would, you know, tribute to karma, and they could just be whatever.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I was
maybe that
supposed to
quest
get
only
some
opens up when you are a bad guy. Like, for example, if you get yourself so low, and it's like, you know, with Prapor, he gives you like little care packages. Perhaps Fence will be like, hey, you know, we can see that you've been an asshole. Here's a chance to redemption. Like, if you go and do these small tasks that we've set you, maybe you can get yourself back up to like neutral, or you know, something to incentivize that and get people back up.
I was thinking even like a money sink, because if there was like you know 0.02 rep or something for 1,000,000 rubles, all these guys that love to farm, you could just feed him rubles to the shredder, and he gives you rep in return for the guys that want it, and then you don't have as many Tarkov billionaires floating around necessarily, because it's a place for people to just throw their cash at it, you know.
Money
Absolutely.
sinks are good like that, but for rep return. But I feel like the actual reputation gains need to be done by the actual scav actions, whether it is quests or actual, you know, playing your scav. I just thought it was interesting that most of the people who did have either the, you know, the very high positive was either through farming the scav, the car extract, not actually by playing their scav and being a good scav in that regard and teaming up with people. It was more in almost finding loopholes. So I'd like to see it more fleshed out in terms of, you know, emphasis on the actual how your player scav acts and reacts with other people.
You know, I've noticed a bug with gaining karma. Pretty much every PMC I ever kill, I always get 0.01 karma. And to my understanding, it was supposed to behave where, depending on how many scav kills that PMC had in that given raid, before you killed him, was supposed to give you more or less karma, with 0.01 being like the default. And I've noticed, like, I've killed PMCs very late in the raid, and guys who have literally killed my scav gang, like, right next to me, and I kill them, and I still only get 0.01. And to me, that seems pretty damn flawed, because, like, if
Yeah,
that
my
PMC
understanding
is
is
killing
there's a
them,
bounty system too, so
yeah,
that doesn't look
it's
like it's working either.
it works. It works on player scavs. I've done it to player scavs. I've gotten like 0.03 on a player scav that killed
Yeah.
2 of my scav gang members, but not on the PMC for some reason. So I think there's probably some kind of bug going on there.
Yeah,
That would be good to have like notoriety or like some sort of bounty on like wanted people.
yeah.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be something that's
And you're
displayed,
free to
but yeah,
farm
you're right.
some.
No, it
Now,
was always based on just how many scav kills that guy has had that raid since he's been in there. So like if you know raid spawns in at 50 minutes, he kills 10 scavs, and you spawn in 20 minutes left in the raid, he's still there. You kill him, you should get however much karma all of those scav bodies are worth on his kills. So, but it doesn't seem to be behaving that way. So
yeah, if you could do that on a PMC, and get like a little bit of rep for killing another PMC that was like scav farming or whatever, as long as they weren't on your team, that would probably end up being one of the ways that you could get back out of the hole for sure. At least then
yeah, you
could
just
do
look for the
something combat
PMCs and
related. Yeah.
No, I like
At least
that.
then you could do something combat related and get yourself built back up. Because if you're going on killing sprees on maps and you know you're clearing lobbies and stuff, they got to have scav kills between them. That would actually probably be a pretty good way to get out of it too. That would work.
I like that. I like that. I just want to insert a couple of little points here from the chat. One was mentioned a long time ago, but it's stuck in my mind. How do you guys feel about the notification that pops up when you do perform an action? relating to your karma. For example, you fire a shot at a target 200 meters away. Usually, you're not going to know if you got them or not. You're like, well, I'm not really
Yeah,
quite
it's kind
sure.
of a kill confirm, man.
It's a bit of
Yeah,
a
I
kill
hear you.
confirm. So, again,
That's how early in the wipe, that's how I knew I had a nade kill. I threw a VOG 25 at a guy and he blew up and I got negative 0.02 or whatever before they changed the system around. I was like, oh, I sniped him.
yeah.
You know? So, yeah, I hear you.
So,
Yeah, I
It's a
could.
little weird.
Yeah, I actually never thought about it that way because I never, really paid a whole lot of attention to it. But yeah, I think just displaying at the end of the raid would be an easy solution. Just get rid of it in raid and make
Yeah.
it at the end raid stats like anything else. Like you have little things like plus karma or negative karma, and that's it.
yeah, absolutely. Another point here as well. On scav runs, once you've done a scav run, perhaps you could choose to turn your gear into fence, for example, and then it would convert that gear based on value, perhaps, or rarity to karma points. So, for example, you go out and loot a load of stuff. Rather than selling it on the fleet or to the traders, you could say, well, here you go. Here's like straight away in that interface, here's some stuff that I found. And Fence goes, yeah, brilliant. Here's 0.3 karma or whatever, based on what you handed in. These are just ideas coming in from the chat there regarding ways to pull yourself out of the hole.
You could do that. You could potentially do that with dog tags. So if you find a dog tag and you also have the kill on the dog tag, you can give those to Fence, maybe get karma for it. But obviously that requires you to survive.
Another guy was like, if you left it on your scav instead of like putting it in your inventory, kind of like stuff you didn't want. If you're leaving your scav with like gear, you're kind of like hooking him up because you're not taking stuff from him. Like he's door dashing all of the gear to your stash or whatever, and you're like, nah, man, you can hold on to it, and then he like feeds back that info to Fence, and Fence
Yeah.
treats you better because you were nice.
I mean,
left your scav with some stuff.
that's something that we was talking about today as well. Like, do we have any kind of like insight as to? It's going to sound silly, but why do we have control of this scav in the first place? What link do we as PMCs have with this scav whose name changes every time they return? What are we giving them, or what's in it for them? They are, of course, human beings in the same situation as us, but what are they getting in return?
Well, I remember when the scab mode was first introduced. I think it was in version 0.2, or maybe a little bit before that. I can't remember. But it was just supposed to be a means for you to go into a raid as a scav, play as the opposing faction, and just have a chance to get items out of the raid, without risking anything on your PMC or your stats on your PMC, for example. And that was really it. They talked about Scav Life DLC, and that's basically going to be like a means of like linear progression similar to that of the PMC, but for the scav, even being able to play as scav bosses being like an end game thing for your scav's life. Eventually you get to become the boss.
Become the scav boss.
Yeah, like literally, like you'll spawn in as Killa, or like you and a bunch of player scavs will be Gluhar and his guards, or Rashala and the guards, whatever. Like, and they'll all be players, and potential like in raid questing and missions. So like you'll be able to like go up to Scab Boss and talk to him like, hey boss, and he's like, hey, fucking go get me a drink, I'm thirsty, and you have to go find him like apple juice or something, and hopefully he doesn't get killed by a PMC by the time you get back, and then you finish a quest for him, and just kind of silly shit like that.
Yeah,
but the Scav PMC cooperation is going to become more relevant in the future too, because it's not just going to be the extract. Eventually, like you'll take those fuckers to labs. So you'll probably get in through factory, is it's not just like like the factory is literally Tagilla's house, and the scavs, they all live there. So you're probably not going to get through without their permission.
Speaking of labs, when Nikita said he was toying with the idea of adding labs gear to the max rep tabs on Fence, like if Fence starts collecting like leftover lab shit that people.
Oh yeah, dude, and you get it at a discount.
Hell
60%, like 60%
Dude,
off.
if you're getting if
something high.
If Crown Tab Fence Slicks end up being worth like 100k rubles less than whatever they're going for on the market at the time, everybody's gonna want to be your friend.
Yeah, everyone's gonna be the most friendly scav you've ever met. Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I think another one that people always bring up is the position of where the scav spawns and the time left in raid, because at the minute we are coming across a lot of player scav spawning in in the first 2 minutes of an interchange raid in the middle of the mall. So maybe good karma could be linked to your spawn position and the time left in raid. See, I don't know what your guys' opinion, whether you prefer having a lot of time left in a raid as a player scav, or you just want to scavenge for the last 10 minutes.
I want
as
to
a
be in at the
PMC,
beginning.
I hate seeing scavs in the middle of the mall in the first few minutes. It's like my pet peeve.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
always like
just-
being in the beginning personally. I like
Same.
fighting PMCs. I like fighting them.
I like being able to take my time and know that there's loot to be had.
Mhm.
That's it's a lot better of a feeling than oh, I got 12 minutes left. Woo!
I mean, yeah, but you say that. We spawned in with like nine minutes on reserve. I was like, let's do a scav gang, everyone. It was like, yeah, go everybody in. And it was like 8.5 minutes left. And I was like,
You could do
shit.
customs instead. It's actually been really good for PvP for me. Been doing
Yeah.
lots of customs with the gang.
Fair play.
It seems like scavs are all going to like interchange and reserve anyway. So if you do any of the other maps, you probably have like the run of the place.
Yeah, like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't seen Karma linked to like when you spawn at all.
No,
It doesn't seem like there's any correlation there.
I'm pretty sure it's all random.
Yeah.
Speaking of timing and stuff like that too, a part of me wonders if randomizing the scav queue for all the maps would be something that could potentially help with queue times and also how playing the scav would behave. Because it's always annoying how like reserve always has a lot of player scavs all the time, and these other maps never have them at all. And I feel like that could help with general queue times for every raid for scavs, and it would also kind of distribute the population of scavs more evenly throughout all of the raids. Because we got to kill a lot of fucking scavs on shoreline. We got to kill a lot of fucking scavs on woods. If we see more player scavs in those maps, quests might be a little bit easier. And when a majority of your PvP isn't dudes with like meta gear and ammo, the TTK is going to be extended, and more equipment that you bring in is more viable because now level 3 armor can actually do something, but obviously mainly towards those player scavs that you see. And I just think it would help kind of break up a lot of consistencies we see, because consistencies are what kill this game.
in the sense that things are too consistent or too inconsistent.
Either or. So like a consistency would be like at the very beginning of the wipe, you get level 5 armor, level 6 armor, and you can just W key to everybody. Know that 90% of the people you run into won't be able to kill you. And so you can play that with that information. And a polar opposite of that at a late wipe would be, oh, my Alton isn't worth it anymore because 90% of the community has ammo that has level 5 pen or more, and now it's not worth the hearing loss for the armor. And so when either of those things happen, like that's a normality or a consistency that is not good for the game and ruins the dynamic, because you are able to use information that isn't a part of the game already to your advantage. But based on like the community, I guess you could say, like knowing how level 6 armor and level 5 helmets will make you a god for the first couple days.
Absolutely. Nice. All right, speaking of PMCs, I swear I just said we're not going to spend much time on that, and we spend the most time on that one topic. But guys, speaking of PMCs, of course, how could you envision? Now, this is something that comes up all the time, and I'm really interested to see what you guys think to it. How could you envision potentially PMC Karma to work? If, let's say, for example, you were tasked with factions.
Oh, so I actually ended up doing some thinking on this one. In my mind, in an ideal, I guess, game, the way that I would look at it would be, you have to pick which group you're going to align yourself with. So if you're gonna be like a good UN boy, and the UN's gonna like you, that means that maybe some other faction on the other side of the fence isn't going to, you know what I mean? So then you you have PMC and bears, but then you also have like, all right, well, I'm gonna stay with Western weapons, or I'm gonna be over on Papa Kalash's side, and who's gonna align with like which traders, and because in a lot of the tasks that we do, like Skier seems like he's kind of like the outlier. He does a lot of stuff with chemicals that the other guys don't seem that they like so much, depending on who you give like certain kinds of intel to. So they don't really want to play nice. So it could be like if you're aligning with Skier, then Peacekeeper's not going to like you all that much, or vice versa, something like that. That's kind of like how I see it going. And then that whole idea with like UN troops maybe spawning in on raids if your karma with certain factions is bad enough to where they send in sweeper teams looking for your ass because you did something you shouldn't have. You know, that kind of thing would be pretty sweet.
They already confirmed that with raiders, so depending on what kind of behavior you have against raiders and certain factions in the future, they'll spawn in a raid and specifically come after you and tag and curse on you. Nikita has
Black Division, man. That's what I want.
yeah,
Black Division.
Yeah.
Dude.
But Nikita's told about like raid factors, which are essentially like what would be at least the documented feature for PMC Karma. And what a raid factor is like rules of engagement for you and other players who are in that same raid that, depending on what you do, will positively or negatively affect your reputation with specific traders, which affect what you get and, you know, what you can buy from them and how often, stuff like that. And so it'd be like, don't kill scav bosses, don't kill raiders, don't kill bears, don't kill PMCs, don't kill USECs, don't kill regular scavs, and other kind of variations of raid factors or whatever the hell they call them. And that's all I've ever heard in terms of how it could potentially work. And what those tie into, I don't know. There's probably a ton of things that it could. I think Nikita's even said something along the lines like, your guns even have a higher chance of jamming because karma, fuck you. You know what I mean? You open a container, you have less chance to find good loot. Fuck you, karma. Like, not everybody believes in karma in real life, right? Yin and yang. But you know, that's how they've described it in the past.
I think the gains and losses need to be enough that it can't just be bypassed. Say if, you know, you've been murdering all the UN faction and Peacekeeper's locked now for you. You can't buy your M4s, you can't buy 9M5 or 556, anything.
No questing even.
Yeah.
No, Peacekeeper's just like, fuck you, stop killing my guys.
I'm not gonna talk to you. Yeah.
It needs to be punishing enough to the point where, okay, if I've no longer got a Peacekeeper, in my mind, I'm thinking I need to farm rubles and I'll just buy stuff off the flea instead. That needs to be, that lifeline needs to be cut off in terms of, you know, the bailout of the flea market. The parameters need to be, if the PMC Karma is a thing and they want it to work, we need to make sure that it's not, you know, someone can't just bypass it by, you know, maybe they can buy stuff on the black market, but it's heavily inflated from fence, or, you know, there has to be repercussions. Otherwise, no one's going to conform to it. Everyone's,
of course,
you know, you're not going to care if you're looking at a USEC or a bear, you're just going to murder everything anyway.
So if the flea is supposed to be a physical location, right? Because everything that we're dealing with is supposed to have a physical location. In order for the flea, yeah. So in order for the flea, like in like where the market exists to be like a safe space or whatever, where, you know, you're gonna have a no fire zone or heavy penalties for doing it, like you're gonna get liquidated by guards or whatever. Then there's always the question of like who's guarding it, who runs the flea, right? Like, because somebody's got to be in charge of the deal. So if you piss off the faction that runs the flea market, maybe you're just not gonna be allowed in, you know?
Yeah, it makes
and then
sense.
you have to go to like some alternative deal.
Well, I'm glad that you said alternative deal as well. Listening to you guys talk about doing this and then this happens, this is your punishment. Now, again, when we think about Fable, we think about like, okay, Peacekeeper, you've killed a load of UN guys, and Peacekeeper's like, fuck this dude, I'm taking all my tasks off you, you're not buying anything, like, I'll give you basics, but that's it, like, I don't want to speak to you. Trader number 2, hey, I heard that you're not getting on with that Peacekeeper guy. Well, I have a stack of M4s, you know, and it opens up, it becomes more of an RPG, because when we think about Tarkov, what I like to do is think about the statement, you know, Escape from Tarkov is a first-person online action RPG, etc., on the main page. I always like to think about that statement and think about what it means for like the future of the game. And, you know, when it comes to karma and it comes to actions, consequences, good and bad, you know, positive and negative, I don't just want players to just be like completely stopped in their tracks. Like, I don't want players to just be like, I can't do that anymore. But rather, you know, if I do this, this will happen. Like, I'll see a fork in the road. Do I go this way? Do I go that way? You know, and we've seen it for years as well. When we hand in task items to different traders, it's like, for example, Chemical Part 4 or whatever it is, you choose who to hand it into. And it's like, okay, I'll give it to Skier or I'll give it to Therapist Prapor. And you get different things happen based on who you give it to. And I would love to see an expansion on that.
Fringe, you lose rep enough to drop from tier 3 to tier 2 or whatever in some cases,
I mean,
right?
that happened to me with Prapor. He was just like, fuck off. So I was like, oh, okay. And I refuse to give him them grenades. I really don't want to do it, and I'm trying to just get by with not level 3 Prapor.
Yeah, and you could look at it like Fallout New Vegas. Like there's all the different factions you can kind of align yourself to, and aligning with one will hurt the other one potentially, but that also gives you access to unique gear and equipment you can't get anywhere else in the game, which kind of creates that real incentive. And that's actually something I've been talking about a lot lately, is how, like, people always say like delete the flea market, not to like change the subject of discussion here, but get rid of the flea market. But it's just really how items that are found in raid get there in the first place and where they come from. So like popular item at the moment is the mutant, best gun in the game right now, right?
Yeah.
You can find it in raid in containers. You can find it in raid on raiders. So therefore you're going to find it on the flea market. But then we can also buy it from the traders. And then players are also going to be bringing them in raid. And then you can find them off players that are not found in raid.
They're
and
everywhere.
so
They're just everywhere. Yeah.
there's a huge abundance of powerful items that come from too many areas of the game. And it just creates these normalities that we see, because people can consistently acquire the same items from various areas of the game. And so, for example, like if they made marked keys only spawn on cultists, no more jacket spawns, no more duffel bag spawns, nothing, like they are only on cultists. So if you want to go to marked room, go play night raids where cultists spawn, kill one, and then get out of the raid. You can sell that on the flea if you want, but it's probably going to be a lot more valuable than it would be right now because of how much more challenging and rare it is to get one. You can do the same thing with ammo, guns, armor, everything. And so if you just change where all these items are placed, and like, you could have items that are only at the traders too. So like Hex is like Ragman level 4. The barter is only there, and that's the only, like, you can get it in raid still, but only if a player got it from the trader, then was in raid, then you killed him, rewarding PvP. You know what I mean?
What if they? So now I'm like getting into like crazy game dev brain. What if you were an asshole scav and got to max negative rep, and they never told anybody anything, but you were like the guy that went max negative just because you wanted to watch the world burn, and then all of a sudden this hidden trader shows up that's got a cultist robe on, and he's got shit that like you could buy a GL40 once a day.
It has all the crazy drugs.
You can get a GL, dude. It's the only way you can get one.
They could totally do that too.
The one guy that can get a GL40.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's the cool thing. Like you could make high karma scavs have the KS23. So like unless your rep is 4.0 or higher, you're not going to spawn with the KS23. You can't buy it from the traders. You can't find it in containers. Only those player scavs have them. And again, that creates that real incentive for players to chase after certain things that they want to use, but also make them not normal. So like when you get killed by a KS23, you're like, holy fuck, I haven't seen that in 100 raids. Jesus Christ. And you respect the item instead of like, fucking another one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
same thing again.
Vector.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you and I
exactly.
have been saying the same thing forever now, where it's like all of like the super high-end armor and weapons and ammo and stuff just needs to like not exist except for like rare barter crap or whatever, because it would make it makes more like a wider variety of armor and ammo viable, because you just keep running along like the whole like tier 3, tier 4 and like PS762 ammo.
It all
like,
gets ignored. It becomes
does,
irrelevant.
and it's so freaking fun when everybody's running around with that shit.
Well, it's because the TTK is completely random. Like either you get shot in the face, or you take a couple shots, run around, get some cover, heal, shoot that guy a couple times, he runs away. It's more of a conversation instead of like, I see you first, you die. Where that can happen no matter what, but it should never be like.
Since I had to start over, that's where I've been living, because I'm running around with like the MP5 and PST GZH, and like you would either hit a guy in the face, you unload into their chest, and they're wearing tier 4, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's more like a game of chess, isn't it? Like you make a move, and then they go, I'll go this way, and then you move to that, and then they go this way, and those extended fights are so much more fun than just fucking one.
Instead of like, M61 again.
It's been the biggest takeaway for me, from like, again, not to divert off the subject of the level 20 flea, of that extended early game of just relying on early stuff from the traders.
It's so good.
People have been loving it, and it's crazy to think that we're only still only 2 weeks into the wipe, and
mutants everywhere.
Yeah, all of us
family, man.
Yeah, that's it. But to be fair, like there's such a big chunk of the player base that aren't like us, who play the game 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. and they're still people who haven't reached fleet, and they're still having to enjoy the benefits of that early game struggle. I feel.
Right.
Wait, you guys have the flea market? Not the fucking thing. I'm like level 17 for the second time.
Ah, jeez.
Uh,
Savage.
Yeah. Somebody in my chat had a pretty interesting idea about the flea and how like every 10 levels would give you a new area to access to the flea to buy and sell. So like level 10, all barter goods. Level 20, medical items, drugs, stims. Level 30, armor and guns. And then like level 40 would be ammunition. And then you can't buy and sell those things off the flea until you hit those levels. So that way you do create those kind of reliances at the trader. But people aren't having to worry about, God damn it, I have like 5 car batteries in my stash, or like all this fucking trash that's just sitting there. You know what I mean? Especially for the standard account owners. They struggle, bro. They have a hard fucking time. I played on standard before. It's not easy. Like it's a fucking totally different experience than an EOD account.
It is hard mode, isn't it, really? Like
I've always said if everybody in Tarkov, the entire player base played on a standard account, the game would be completely different. The pace of everything would be so much different. Because the smaller container and the smaller stash, bro, it changes everything.
Even the rep gain, the initial rep gain
That too.
that is huge.
It is huge. Yeah, it's huge.
A lot.
Especially for Jaeger.
Yeah, Jaeger this wipe, he only gives like 0.1 per quest. You have to basically almost finish your Jaeger quest line to max him on a standard account at the minute.
Oh, it's savage. It's like I said, it makes like those decisions for negative rep between traders. Like you actually like, oh fuck, like again, like what Dan was talking about, forcing you into those like relationships with certain traders where like you don't get this if you choose this.
Yep.
Where EOD definitely does kind of nullify that for sure.
Absolutely. That's something that's been a bit of a point of conversation for a long time. We're always talking about different editions of the game and the benefits of EOD. Like you can't argue that EOD has incredible amount of benefits from the container.
Totally.
The fucking rep, dude, and
it wasn't
else.
as much when I bought the game, like I don't know, three and a half years ago. It wasn't as much of a benefit. Like the way that they've designed the game, it's made it more valuable to have over time as they make the game more punishing. Like it's like, oh, EOD's even better now.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Before you had to buy EOD just to play the game. Like, that was standard accounts didn't get a play. It was only EOD, man.
It's interesting, isn't it? And I'll be interested to see. I mean, obviously we're going a little bit off topic here, but yeah, EOD, with the rep especially, because I was looking at Jaeger and I was thinking, I got 0.01 until I'm Jaeger level 3 or whatever, level 2 or whatever it was at the time, and I was like, how are you guys getting on with Jaeger, guys? And they were like, yeah, I'm on point like 004, and I'm like, oh, 0.004 until the next level, and they're like, no, 0.004 in total on Jaeger because his tasks give you absolutely fuck all.
Nothing, yeah.
And I'm just like, what level are you? Yeah, I'm like level 23 now, and I'm like, the fuck? It's like, how are you not, and you're absolutely right, guys. Over time, this wipe, especially, we are seeing, I don't know if you guys have noticed it as well, but we're getting like so much less XP per raid. Like you go and do a raid and I'm seeing like,
they're slowing everything down.
2, 3, 4,000. I'm like, I just killed like fucking 10 dudes. And it's not only the XP slowing down, like you say, but gaining that rep as well from the tasks. 0.01, 0.02 per task. Like it's
once Tarkov reaches 1.0 state, like the way that we progress through the game is going to be a lot longer than what it is compared to now, because like we're going to have to physically progress through the raids, meet traders in physical locations. Even the flea market, the arena is going to be a physical location. We're literally going to have to travel through the game and like figure all this stuff out ourselves. So like one wipe, you'll open the game, there will be no traders, there will be no flea market tab, there'll be no hideout tab. It's just go to streets and that's it. You have like a tiny fucking stash. You can't put a lot of shit in there and you can only bring a little bit of stuff out, but it's like you literally have to go in and find what you use, and then you finally meet a trader, then you can finally start buying gear and doing missions. And by the time we get to customs is when we meet like prapper, therapist, skier, and I think mechanic and ragman. But a lot of them won't have missions yet. They'll wait for you to do the basic shit first. So it's going to be totally different, as time moves on. And you're not going to be able to find that level 5 armor right away. You're not going to be able to jump straight in labs right away. That shit's all going to go away.
go into reserve to get raiders, man.
That too.
Raiders.
You're not going to be able to do that too.
Yeah.
You know, getting
That's
into those locations will be more challenging as well.
It's one thing I've always said. If the people, when these discussions come about, they're like, "Well, I bought EOD for this, this, and this reason." I'm like, if you start seeing your EOD privileges or the perks of EOD starts to slip away, and if you get upset by that, then you bought EOD for the wrong reason. That's a you thing.
By the time that they get pissed off about it, like how many thousands of hours have they dumped into the game?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like your $150 purchase, like my $150 is 6,000 hours of game time. Like I don't know what that works into, like how many pennies per hour or something less than that I've gotten worth of like enjoyment out of this. But I would say like most people judge games on what, like $1 per hour. Like if they spent 60 hours on a $60 game, they got their money's worth. Like you got thousands of hours out of your $150 and it wasn't worth it for you. Sorry, you're mad.
Yeah, I mean, and that's 6,000 hours before the game's even released. Like, it's, you know, it's crazy.
During a testing phase,
things change, but
yeah.
I always tell people just be ready to adapt, because like the game that we've been playing for a long time is like, again, the testing phase of like a really big project, and like its full gameplay loop isn't there. Like Kappa is not end game. The max level traders is not end game. These guns and gear that we use, like, yeah, they may be like high level items, but that's not the end game. Personal story missions are. And that isn't in the game yet. And when personal story missions finally arrive, like EFT will be a totally different game.
I can't wait.
It's gonna be great.
I'm looking forward so much, because if the plan is to stay the same, where each player will progress through the story first and then unlock free roam, if that is still the plan, please correct me if I'm wrong, guys. But that would be incredible. Like I am a massive story game player. Like I grew up playing Metal Gear Solid. You know, the very first game I ever played on the PlayStation was Final Fantasy VII. I grew up playing these kind of story games, and seeing the kind of first-person shooter environment, then sort of having these story elements and having this RPG side and interaction between players and having this world, it's just, you know, it's something that is so much more dynamic and fluid and powerful than just your run-of-the-mill shooter, you know. And I'm trying my best each day to say, hey guys, look, you know, this game is changing, this game is moving forward, it's going to be so much more, you know, when it's finished. And it's exciting, man, but at the same time, it is really difficult to kind of say, you know, keep the community sort of looking forward and be ready to change, because, you know, we are human beings. We've been doing the same stuff. Like we spoke about earlier about killing on site. We've been KOSing for 4 years. You know, we are so used to doing that. But, you know, it's so refreshing and it's so exciting to see with the Karma system, for example, like the developments and just the environment, the feeling of being in a raid is different, and it's exciting, man. It's really cool. I can't wait for story mode.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Absolutely. All right. So moving on. We are actually moving into some closing points here. I mean, I'm having a great time, guys. I don't know about you, but we do have some closing points before we take some questions from the community. So what's written down here, which I'll put, is, in general, as a player base, are we happy that Scav Karma was implemented? And do we feel that Scav Karma's made the game better? Do we feel that pre-Scav Karma, you know, was what we was playing at the time? Do we feel like after Scav Karma's been implemented, are we now like enjoying Tarkov more? Do we think Tarkov is a better game for it? I think I was going to say, I think I know what people are going to say, but please.
I mean,
you know.
it's made the game easier for, you know, people who aren't as good and don't have as much time to play, because at least on their Scav now they have, like, I would say at least 60 to 70% of their engagements are not people killing them now, which are the player Scavs, because Scavs used to kill each other all the time. But in a way, it has also, you know, made the game a little bit more challenging, because you kind of put yourself in these newer situations that you never did before, like trying to interact with other players friendly. And it's been awesome. I think it's just giving new areas for players to progress, and has like been just like probably the most impactful feature to affect our in-raid experience as players in general.
Yeah, I think any of these additions, changes, it's more so about how we react and adapt. That's what it's about. It's about adapting, like anything, whether Scav Karma or the weight system. It's how you overcome it and adapt, and it's going to be like this for the the features that are coming in the future as well. It's not just so how it affects the game; it's how it affects your choices in a raid or how you approach the game. As much as like a lot of people do enjoy just W keying and taking every gunfight, these choices and decisions is what makes Tarkov unique, in my opinion.
I agree, absolutely. And one of the things that I use, like, there's an example that I use with regards to like battle royale, because I've seen, and I'm sure everybody here has seen Tarkov being compared to a battle royale. People come in the chat, is this a BR? And you're like, no, it's not a BR. And it's like, well, why are you killing everybody then? And you have to sort of explain it. But like Tarkov, by definition, in a battle royale setting, like everybody needs to die, and there needs to be one person left. Like they are the winner of the battle royale, of the match or whatever. But in Tarkov, and this is always an interesting kind of like concept that I try and put across, is like, imagine, in Tarkov, like nobody needs to die. Obviously scavs probably will, because PMCs and scavs don't really like each other, but like nobody actually needs to die when you think about it. And that's like the biggest difference between
the goal of the game is to survive.
Absolutely, yeah, to stay alive, to live, because you can't escape, you can't fucking escape Tarkov in a body bag.
No, you can.
But technically you can. But the aim is escape from Tarkov, preferably alive, not fucking get shipped out on a slab. So, it's I'm really glad that you guys have had positive. You feel positive about the change. Onepeg, have you got anything to add about Karma?
I think that the system is going in the right direction. Like anything else, I think it obviously needs a little bit of tweaking, but I think the devs even have admitted that it's going to need tweaking when they implemented it. I think I would definitely like to see some, I guess, perks or what have you for people that go all the way to the bad side, just because I think it would make for a pretty cool like player dynamic, being able to like make whatever choices they're gonna make. If you decide to go that route because you want to watch the world burn, like there should be some kind of incentive for all of the negatives that you're going to take. And you would probably still see like significantly less bad scavs because the cooldowns and stuff might not be worth it. But, if there's an outfit or something, I think it would be pretty cool.
Yeah, some sort of incentive. Yeah, because,
yeah, again,
I know we keep going back to Fable, but, your choices should have positive and negative. And, that's what makes it a choice. If a choice is, do I do this and get good things and do this or get bad things, you're going to go, I'll go with the good way because it benefits me. But if every choice that you make has a kind of a branch, a fork in the road, you're going to be like,
yeah, success and failure isn't a choice. A choice is like, do I side with this or do I go this way? It's like your moral compass. Yeah. Just having a good and a bad ending to something isn't always, a choice. There needs to be, the spectrum of things.
Shades of gray.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. 50 of them, I've heard. So, sorry, that was terrible. Panel members, guys, if you've got any messages for BSG, okay, if you could send a message to BSG and Nakia, of course, about Karma, what would you like to say to them? Iron Fist, please take it away.
1v1 me, Nikita. Otherwise, you'll get bad karma. Yeah,
Challenge
I don't know. I'm just loving all the changes. I'm just hoping that we get more changes, anything to throw off the meta, anything to throw off the player base, and we just want more. Everyone's just demanding more. Everyone just loves the changes, and anything that changes how. Because I always tell people, Tarkov gets boring when you start doing the same thing over and over again. And again, that's a you problem. If you're finding Tarkov boring, that's because you're playing the same map, doing the same route, doing the same stuff. Anything that forces you or like makes you question your decisions or makes you play a different style, that's what refreshes and reignites your kind of love for this game. So the more little sprinkles of these little changes that we get, the better, honestly. So keep throwing these spanners in the works, and I'm looking forward to the future of it.
Absolutely. Klean.
I would say like overall Scav Karma is amazing. Biggest thing to affect gameplay throughout the raids ever in Tarkov. the pre-wipe events that you guys did with like lore items, it's like, you know, on Twitter and, you know, social media and stuff like that. Those were awesome and were by far the coolest lore events you guys have ever done, or any pre-wipe event for that matter. I just ask you guys to do more of those things, make them post-wipe events, things that affect the economy, things that affect spawn rates for bosses, gear, items, everything. Because that would really make things feel more dynamic and also more fun when you're associating lore items to it. You know, those snippets on social media, like that stuff's cool. I
Yeah.
love stories. You know what I mean? I want more.
Absolutely.
So if they could do stuff like that, I think that would, especially if this is going to be a long wipe, like that would make things more interesting, like opening or locking certain things. You know what I mean? Whatever.
100%. Yeah, I mean, you saw how excited people were getting with all the lore snippets, like the you know, people were excited that their New Year's gift were getting removed because it came in the way that they presented it was like, okay, we're taking away your New Year's gift, which sucks, you know, too bad. But
Good.
like, yeah, it was a good thing to be brutally honest. But like, the way that they presented it to the community in this like in-universe way, it was just like, well, that sucks, but it's fucking cool the way that they showed us, and fair enough. You know, I feel like the more that BSG use the lore to explain changes to us, I love it, man. The way that they was like, oh, the UN's gonna come in and fucking demilitarize the location. I loved it. I was like, that's fucking awesome, dude. Like, it's not just game wipes. It's like UN comes in to demilitarize the zone, and I think that's cool, man. I think that's really, really cool the way that they presented it, for sure. Cool.
Dude, I attributed it to like a kindergarten teacher, instead of being like, I'm taking away your crayons, and then you being like, no. Instead, they were like, all right, children, get out your carpet squares. So now what happened was this ship that was bringing your crayons to you suddenly got caught. Sorry. Like, you can't have your crayons because
Really
this ship
soften the blow.
doesn't have to get to port now. Like, and
Yeah.
everybody was like, all right. Like, that was
Fair
it.
enough. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Onepeg, if you've got anything that you'd like to pass on to the developers, please use this opportunity to do so.
Insofar as Scav Karma, I would just like to see, like, I think it's like just a little bit too long for people to get to like max, if that's like their goal for the wipe cycle. Of course, the wipe cycle, we don't even know how long that's going to be, but if they wanted to get like testing out of that aspect of it, or if they were going to do the Raider tab thing or whatever, right now, if somebody were to make that their primary focus and they didn't even care about leveling their PMC and they were just trying to get scav rep, I think that it's a little bit too long of a life cycle to try and get to max before they would probably end up doing another wipe and changing something else. That, and I would like to see some type of passive way to generate it that doesn't have necessarily to do with like player scav has to kill stuff in order to be able to advance this, because that's really what it ends up turning into after you get about halfway there. So either gathering items on a weekly basis for fence, whatever it is that he wants, or like a money sink or something like that, I think would be more beneficial. But that's probably it. I mean, in terms of like the player base's attitude and stuff, I think it's spot on. It's doing good. And like I said, for like max, if you're gonna go all the way down to like the bottom of the barrel, have there be some Easter egg or something that somebody can get as a result of doing that, whatever it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the general consensus is that there should definitely be pros and cons. I think we can all agree that that's what makes choices interesting. And yeah, performing an action shouldn't be purely punishing. Having those different choices laid out to you, and then those consequences, good and bad. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Nice. I'd like to take a couple of questions from you guys in the chat. Okay. Those of you that are streaming as well, guys, please feel free to pull some messages from your guys if you like. Just go for it. And then yeah, we'll be calling it for the night. So if you've got any questions coming in, anything that's sticking out to you guys, please feel free to just go for it. Got a couple. Yeah, go for it.
I'm looking.
Trying to find.
Are there Twitch drops on the stream? Yes. No.
Fucking drops, man. Exclamation drops.
You gain karma for every minute watched of this podcast.
Yes, you've gave me. Imagine that. You actually get karma.
Congratulations.
There you go. Well done, guys.
Why are you so British?
Who? Which one of us?
They said, why is he so British?
My tea's going cold and my biscuits are at room temperature, so I'm a bit uppity right now.
That's all right. That's what we're all like. Everyone in the UK is the same.
Have you guys noticed that the scav wiggle has started evolving into like some strange interpretive dance?
Oh
as
yeah.
people are trying to like make peace. It's not just a wiggle now. It's like they fire into the air, into the ground. They like spin in a circle. They start shaking their head around like crazy.
Yeah,
like it's
the
become
wave, the jump. Absolutely. It's like it is. It's some sort of mating ritual, isn't it? You know. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I've got a question here that says this is to be quite a good one. If Scav Karma is intended to shift the focus from scav on scav violence to scavs teaming up and taking down PMCs together, should the scav timers be adjusted to give more time for these kind of interactions, or should
Absolutely.
PMCs have a long safe period where they don't need to worry too much about player scav? This is really good.
You're going to say yes. If you like
So-
playing a PMC, you're going to say no.
One of my biggest gripes with like certain people who play Tarkov the way they do is like they'll go in raids with like the best gear in the game and have no problem fighting other geared PMCs, but as soon as it's 4 scavs with like shitty guns, they have everything to lose and they are scared for their life. I feel like a majority of the PvP in Tarkov should be against the player scavs, because not only is it lore friendly, it also makes much more of the equipment in the game for the PMC more viable. And so a lot of your engagements will be from scavs and their type of equipment. Yeah, they can have like SVDs and some other good shit, but you know, it's not always going to be some best in slot gun with best in slot ammo with low recoil. I think that'd be a big improvement.
When you guys, go ahead. Sorry, man.
I was just saying, yeah. Finish your point. Sorry, I was going to divert on something else.
Well, I was actually going to divert too, so you go ahead.
A lot of my chat is asking about because it's about risk reward. I feel in terms of player scavs, people would feel that player scavs aren't risking enough, and that's why when I was talking earlier about spawning very early into the raid on an interchange raid in the middle of the mall, 2 minutes into a raid, that person's got nothing to risk, and a PMC who's just used an SG6, SG1, and made the run from the car park is fighting against them. And that kind of like the reaction to dying to a player scav in that situation is I've just risked my my best loadout and ran 5 minutes, whereas this person is just loaded in and blown my kneecaps off. Do you feel that balance is too much in favor of player scavs having nothing to risk, and PMCs having so much to risk? Is that balance still, it's definitely skewed in the way the player scav will, but what's your opinions on that? Is it too far? It needs to move in?
I'm really sorry that they find this game to be frustrating. Perhaps it's not the game for them.
I mean, that's how I feel, because like the scavs live there. That's their home. Like we are entering and are then in like their fucking territory. Player scavs should absolutely be in locations first, because that prevents a lot of people from just say that hatchling beelining it to fucking Marked Room or Shoreline Resort. Imagine if every time you went to resort, or somewhat consistently you went to resort, there was like up to 6 to 8 player scavs chilling, and they're waiting for people to come there and open those doors up, because they live there. It's their fucking home. Like, why shouldn't they be there first? And again, that's an immediate PvP engagement, and also makes much more equipment throughout the game as the PMC more viable for a majority of your PvP. Because when the game devolves into everybody having just best in slot kit, all the fights are always just quick. You know what I mean? Didn't matter that you had a helmet; he had fucking AP rounds. It enriches the dynamic a lot, and I think that's really important. And it would make people scav more, which I don't think people actually do enough. I don't think people are actually utilizing their scavs as much as they should.
I'm going to enter this war-torn building riddled with bullets with danger around every corner by doing drugs and running in a straight line as long as possible. What could possibly go wrong? Like,
I think that's a really interesting point, because like lore-wise, game-wise, story-wise, we're not supposed, like, there's no such thing as scav and player scav, is there? It's just scav, right? When you think about the setting and everything else, it's not like these guys are just magically controlled by some, you know, whatever. So I can see both sides of it, because I've been in that situation where I'm like, all right, I just need to sprint in and get this quest item or whatever, and I fucking get there and there's just a player scav, like, you know, with a Taz, I just head eyes me. I'm just like, oh, I hate player scavs. But then at the same time,
but if you're the player scav with the Taz, though,
if you're the,
Yeah,
exactly.
you are also the scav. It goes both ways.
If you're the scav, you're the man. You're gonna tell your friends about it, right?
Exactly. You're
All
going to
the
be on
screenshots
Twitter
on
like,
Discord.
look what I
Look
just
at
got.
all the loot that I just got.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's
Look
the
at this juicy
screenshot.
scav run.
All I'm saying is that, like, if there is valuable items somewhere, there should be something protecting it or around it, like at the very beginning of the raid, even if it's a scav. Because when you look at the interchange situation, that scav has to go from being up there to running to the extract. So if that fucker finds 2 GPUs, if you think, there's probably some scavs in here, let's not run inside. Let me change my tactic and wait outside for this dude who's probably going to come to Railway. I'm going to shoot him in the face and then take his shit that he can't put in his gamma because he's a fucking scav. And, you know, I just feel like there's a lot of decision making that you could do to change how you're used to approaching different situations and you know, coming on top in a different way. And plus, I love fighting player scavs too, because like I'll bring in a gun with good AP rounds, and then I'll bring in a shotgun with like Magnum buckshot. And those scavs are a lot easier to kill with a shotgun than they are with that M4. And so it's just a bunch of little one taps. And so again, I changed my strategy to, you know, go into different situations. Again, increasing more dynamic engagements and firefights as well. Because like late game shotguns aren't going to do shit for you.
Absolutely. No, I love that. I think we've got some really good ideas out there. I've got another one here saying, and I'm really glad this came up actually, asking about clarity on distinguishing between friend or foe in scav fights. I'm so glad this came up, because a lot of players in the chat historically have asked me, like, Dan, how do you know that you're looking at a scav or a PMC? Now, for those of us that have been playing since the dawn of time, like, for us it's fairly obvious. And I don't mean that in a shitty way. I'm not being an asshole about that. But for us, it's like really obvious. Oh, it's a scav I can see because I can see his clothing. I can see his gear. I know it's a player scav because of the way he's moving. Like, because we've seen a million scavs by now and a million PMCs. We know, you know, you just know, don't you? But there's a lot of players out there, newer players especially, and players that don't get that much time to play. And you know, they might be trying to figure out what somebody is, and in that time they've died, and it's incredibly frustrating for them. So the question here, now that I've set it up, is the clarity on distinguishing between friend or foe in scav fights. For example, what if you accidentally shoot your mate due to a player error, but as a scav you'll be losing the karma in a chaotic fight and killing randoms that doesn't sit well with you, with them from a player enjoyment point of view. So what they're saying is it can be really difficult to tell whether someone is a PMC, whether someone is your scav friend, like if you're a player scav, telling if they're a scav friend or a scav hostile and stuff like that. Like what could you give to the community to help them understand how to differentiate between not only PMCs and scavs, but like scav friend and foe as well? Because arguably, you know, PMCs look exactly the same regardless of their intentions. Scavs look the same regardless of their intentions. So how could you I've fucking gone the long way around this. How could you help people differentiate between PMCs, scavs, and potentially their intentions as well?
So for me, when I walk into a building, if I hear like footsteps or something, if I'm playing as a scav, I will do like the voice line stuff. If they don't voice line back, I leave. Because I don't know if there's like 3 of them and like they're trying to bait me, or if it's a PMC and he's going to shoot me in the face or whatever. And then I'll kind of like work my way around and like watch and see what they do or who they are.
I'm glad you said that, because most players would look at that situation and think that they still need to push up those stairs and fucking kill whatever that is. They're just like, I just got to go up there and get it because I heard something. They never think like, let's not make that decision and do something that means that I'll live longer. You know what I mean? Because
dude, I get asked 3-4 times a stream even now, like how to open the emote menu. Like there are so many people that don't even know that exists. Like they don't know how. You know,
I've
so
been doing Scav Gang and like no com raids with my mods for a long time. Like I play with the bear, who's my editor. His name's Joshua, and we played flawlessly together because all we're doing is just listening to each other in game. We don't care that we're giving away our position. We just want to be able to know like, oh, I just heard him talk from over here, so I know that's my friend, right? And we do it really well. But not a lot of people like have ever even considered trying to play the game that way and actually like using voice lines to communicate and like actually learning Russian. Because playing as a bear, like I've actually managed to learn Russian just through using the tilde speak menu. Like it's actually kind of crazy, you know?
yeah.
No comrades really help, like in terms of learning other people's behaviors and stuff, and just how they react to a certain movement or to you looting. Like, do they stop and loot as well, or are they like? Do you hear an ADS? Do you hear footsteps? There's so many little audio cues that you hear when you go no comrades. Or even like obviously we do it with chat or whatever, but like even as a group of friends, just jump in on a no comms raid and you'll be surprised on how much you learn from that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's you pay much more attention to the game and less to the information and the sound coming from Discord from your buddy trying to tell you that the guy's near a bush. Like when like a mistake that people like a mistake that people do all the time when they play in Discord is that generally their Discord audio is louder than their game. So when their friends are talking, trying to give them information about the raid potentially or something completely irrelevant, that audio is clouding you hearing a gunshot or somebody sprinting or somebody ADSing, any like super tiny subtle sound. And people always go like, hey, is this you? Did you make this sound? Did you do this? But when you go to no comrades, you are only listening to the game environment and you are constantly aware as to where your team is moving around you. So if your friend like goes off to the right a little bit and does something, you don't have to be like, hey, did you just fucking make that sound? You know that was him because you just heard him in game because you're moving with him. You know, you're side by side. You can see him. You know, he's behind you. It enhances your game awareness. Where when trying to rely on the words that your friends are trying to tell you through Discord, that can actually take more time for you to figure out what the fuck's going on. And if you're just paying attention to the game environment entirely.
They talk too much and it's just noise pollution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Is this on you on wood and then them trying to describe which tree they're standing next to or whatever?
It's all useless. It's all useless information. Yeah, but in me and my stream, we do this super well in just scavs because we have just simple rules. F1. If I F1, you F1. If I do it angry, you do it angry. We play, Marco Polo basically, and then you always stay within a range where you can hear each other. So if I'm calming with F1, you can still hear that I'm over here. As soon as you get outside of that, that's when things get scary. But that's why you never separate as a group.
Then, like, if you can get close enough to them, like the PMCs and bears and stuff, they have patches on their shoulders, right?
Right.
So
And you learn the clothing. That helps out a lot. But
sure.
there's a uniformity problem with Tarkov in general when it comes to like knowing what's a scav, what's a PMC, who's trying to kill you and who's not. A lot of those features aren't in the game yet, and so it's really coming down to you recognizing the type of equipment they have and like their pants, really, or maybe their arms. Just pay attention to the arms. And so if you see like an attack 2 bag with like a helmet, probably a PMC.
are they wearing
If you see,
sandals?
yeah, slicks X-Fills, whatever. Like, do they have a huge monstrosity of a gun in their hands that's just like gigantic? Probably a PMC. And you just learn to pick apart the differences between like gear that you can consistently see on PMC players and gear that you consistently see on Scav and Scav players. But if you are Scav, just follow rule number 1. Just if I say cheeky, you say breaky. Just press F1 around everything that you're around. And if you hear something back, he probably just wants to be your friend. If nothing, maybe just turn around and run away.
Yeah, I think I actually really love those points because quite a few people have been asking me like, hey Dan, how do you let people know that you're friendly as a scav? Because and this brings us back to an earlier point with regards to like high and low ready. Because at the moment in game, when you move around and doing your thing, everyone is pointing their weapon, and those of you that are military trained will know, like, you never point your weapon at something unless you are ready to engage that target, right? You never put your finger on the trigger unless you're planning on pulling it. And in Tarkov, it doesn't help that the only stance that we have in game is hostile stance. Okay, we can all like universally recognize, other players pointing their weapons at us. So getting familiar with the emote system. Okay, so it's double tap Y, and then you can right click each emote that you want to use, and you can put it on your F keys. So you'll notice that I've got like my thumbs up, I've got my wave, I've got like my point and my follow. You know, the main 4 ones that I use as a scav to kind of show my intentions to other scavs. And like you say, just going around hitting F1. Like I'll enter a building as a scav, and I'll just F1 on the way in. I'll literally just go, yeah, Shak Baridam. And then other people that are in that building might go, a scav. And then they might go, oh, Shak Baridam. And, you know, and you're like, yeah, brilliant. Thumbs up, trade some items together, and off you go. But like if you, and that's a great point as well. I'm really glad that you mentioned it. If you do like an F1 mumble and you don't hear anything back, it's probably time to dip. It's, you know, I've showed that I'm friendly. I've put myself out there. They haven't emoted back, and I know they're in there because I heard them make a footstep or whatever. That's the time to dip out. That's not the time to make friends. Like the time to make friends is over, and you gotta go. Okay, they don't want to be friends. Then you need to make a choice. Do I go up and try and kill them, or do I just dip out? You know, live to fight another day.
I've made myself known to PMCs, and they've come back, told me to pull my knife out, and then we went to the extract together. It can happen. You just have to be. You just got to follow the rules.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, a lot of it is surprise as well. We've all been surprised by someone that we see. Oh shit! Brr. Oh, it was a player scav.
Yeah, don't surprise people.
Yeah, don't surprise people.
Don't surprise people.
Just be like, hey, want to work together, and you'll be all right. And then
Make sure they hear you before they see you. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. And if they still don't say anything, well, you know, time to dip. Time to dip out. This is something that's been coming up a lot as well, guys. Really, really quickly. With more players trying to work together during player scav runs and stuff like that, does Tarkov need an ad hoc group system in raid? Just to expand on this, a lot of the concept that we've been talking about on stream the last couple of days has been like, if you go up to another player scav and you go, you know, want a party, but in Russian, and they go, yeah, sure, let's be friends. You know, would that then put you in a kind of ad hoc group? So, for example, if you were then to betray your friend, would you receive a worse penalty, or would the game be able to use that information that you greeted each other? Would the game be able to use that information to say, okay, these 2 scavs are grouped? If one of them then decides to go, because this is an issue at the moment, isn't it, when it comes to player scavs? A player scav will, in a group, engage you, you shoot them back, and then their guys will kill you. Or one of them will shoot you next to you and you kill one, and then the group takes you out because there's no penalty for them. So the idea behind this question is like, should there be some sort of expansion for the grouping system, both in raid and loading in as, let's say, a scav gang, for example?
I think it's a fantastic idea for, you know, potential 2 PMCs to meet each other in a raid, greet each other, and they're like, hey, okay, we work together. They both do the greeting, and that pairs them up. And say if they extract that raid, or maybe even they do so with a player scav or something, and extract with said player scav, they could get, you know, positive or potentially negative reputation depending on how they handle that interaction after, you know, that initial hello. I think that'd be super cool. Then you could do the same thing with scavs. So if you and a scav both extract together, you get like a tiny bit of karma for that because you didn't group up with them before the raid. But obviously you don't have to extract at the same time and stuff.
Yeah, it'd have to register you both in the extract at the same time, for example. Yeah, I think a lot of players are starting to get quite frustrated with, like, you know, I mean, this is the risk, isn't it? It is as per the law, a dog eat dog world. Every man's out for himself in a lot of ways. You know, I think players are getting frustrated with saying, you know, hey, I'm friendly, and then they exchange items, for example, and then as soon as they turn their back to like hit a filing cabinet, they're getting shot in the back of the head. But at the same time, it's like, that's the risk that you take. You know, not everyone is going to be friendly, so it goes back to those choices, doesn't it?
When it comes to bad karma, there needs to be more penalties for those kind of things. Like,
just give it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, make it to where if you're a scav and you shoot a scav in the back of the head, you get less, like a higher karma hit for that than say shooting him in the face. You know what I mean?
Ah, yeah.
So like you can make literal backstabbing, like, you know, a higher penalty potentially.
Because it's the coin flip with any like no comms interaction is, you know, this could go badly at any point. But even sometimes it's out of your control. Like, you've defended yourself, somebody's heard the shots and they see dead bodies all around you, you're now literally tagged and cursed every player, Scav, because they think you've just betrayed
Sure.
the
Yeah.
dead bodies in front of you. It's just part of the interactions when it comes to having no comms. Is people interpret what they're seeing in front of them, or your actions, or you pulling a knife out. Is that them you challenging to a knife fight, or is that them you being friendly? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Every action has, you know, how people interpret it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Is he challenging me to a knife fight? Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Old-fashioned duel.
Yeah, an old-fashioned duel, yeah.
Is Nikita trying to 1v1 me? Iron Fist.
He's telling me to get good or get gooder even more.
Even more gooder. Guys, I think we have done an awesome job tonight. Okay, we're coming up to the 2-hour point, and I don't want to take your time up too much longer because you were, of course, incredibly kind to agree to come and talk to us tonight. I really, really appreciate that. So yeah, guys, what we're going to do, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Okay, because we could, you know, we could obviously talk about this for 12 hours straight, but we'd all be sitting there fucking like potatoes. So yeah, guys, Iron Fists, please let us know what your stream schedule is and where the Tarkov community can find you on social media and stuff like that.
I'm IronFist_TV on Twitch and Twitter. 6 days a week, which is usually Sunday to Friday, 6 till midnight, BST, English time. That's where you'll find me. And obviously, part of my duties as the emissary program is, you know, feel free to reach out, whether it's something big, little, large, game-breaking bug, or just a regular bug. Feel free. We're always trying to collect as much info when it comes to, you know, we're still only 2 weeks into the patch. There's always, you know, bugs that people are finding. And stuff like that. I'm always trying to stay involved and feedback as much as possible to the devs and stuff like that. So not just on stream, off stream, I'm trying to do my bit.
Awesome, thank you. Onepeg.
Twitch.tv/Onepeg. I'm also on YouTube, and I'm usually live. Well, most days I'm live around 7:30 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then I go until I just don't want to stream anymore. That's pretty much it.
Fair play, fair play. And Klean?
Twitch.tv/Klean. Klean is Klean on pretty much all social media. Don't really have a schedule. I just kind of stream whenever I wake up and, you know, just living that life, I guess. So catch me when you catch me.
Fantastic.
Appreciate you having us, Dan. Thanks for putting this
yeah,
together.
man.
It's
Yeah,
always
this is
fun
fun.
It's always fun to theory craft with like-minded Tarkov people, or even if we do disagree on something, it's good to chat about it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm saying this all the time. There's nothing wrong with disagreement. You know, if two people disagree and they're of, you know, sound mind, it will create a discussion, and then both parties go away with like different ideas and go, oh wow, that was really cool. Like we might not agree with each other, but each made great points. And you know, I think there were some disagreements with what we were saying regarding, for example, the Scav, you know, what time player Scav should be spawning in on interchange. But you know, at the end of the day, everyone made great points, and yeah, I'm really fucking happy, guys. I really am. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And yeah, guys, you can find me here, obviously, Tuesday through Saturday. Okay, we do loads of like Scav gang stuff, Scav armies. You know, I'm a Sherpa as well, and I can reveal that I'm on my trial period for my emissary thing. So everything's moving forward, guys.
It's 50-50 whether or not you get into that trial period.
I'm sweating, mate. I'm sweating.
Just keep the Sherpa tag. Don't get that purple thing next to you.
I know, that's the hard choice. It's a hard choice. But the most important thing is whether we're Sherpas, emissaries, or fucking, you know, just kick-ass Tarkov players, guys. Like, we're all here as content creators for the community. Like, we might not agree with everything you guys say. You might not agree with everything that we say. But at the end of the day, you know, us four here, we've got a shit ton of fucking experience in Tarkov. Majority of Tarkov streamers will have a shit ton of experience in the game, whether that's shift W and just absolutely drilling dudes on labs, or that friendly guy, for example, who hasn't killed anyone the whole wipe and is like progressing through and just making friends along the way. Like there's so many different ways you can play this game. But the one thing that unites us all is obviously, you know, doing what we can to survive in Tarkov, have a good time, and kind of teach people the things that we've learned over the thousands of hours that we spent in early access and development, guys. So thank you very much. We're going to wrap it up there, and yeah, I'm really shit at goodbyes. I'm going to be staying live for now. Okay, we're gonna be doing like a debrief and stuff for the guys. But yep, Onepeg, Iron Fist, Klean. Thank you so much indeed for accepting my invitation. It's been a fucking blast.
Thanks for having us.
So
Yeah, cheers.
yeah,
Thanks.
cheers, guys. Thank you.